Welcome back to my dating series philosophy. This is part 2. Part 1, we went over what I was looking for in dating. Part 2 is going to be more about me and my dating. Now you may ask, why am I shooting these videos? Well, it's really a 2-part. 1, I'm able to explain what I'm looking for to a female, and 2, I'm able to deliver a philosophy to the world. It's a blessing to be able to kind of combine the two, to switch it up, something a little bit different, and be able to give the world the philosophy, which I need to deliver the information anyway. Also, through the traditional ways of going about dating for myself, at this point, I just find it more of a time waste than anything. It's primarily been a one-on-one format when I get a woman in my life, trying to finagle explaining the philosophy in a useful way to see if this is a person that I can work with or not. It's been a very challenging process, and again, more than anything, just a waste of time. So again, this format I feel will be a little bit more effective. So just throwing it out there, we'll see how it goes. Ultimately, this is a freestyle, okay? This whole series is just a freestyle. I'm not coming into these videos maybe with any more than a few talking points. Other than that, I'm just coming off top of the head in the most effective way that I think to capture a mass audience, to get them up to speed with what I'm trying to say. That's one of the challenges versus a one-on-one communication session with a person. I'm much more able to be in tune with where they're at on certain topics and just laser in. I know what I can skip. I know how I need to work some information in if they have a certain belief system. So again, this is a mass audience format, so I'm literally just trying to do my best to deliver the information to where all can kind of comprehend and understand what I'm trying to say. So just bear with me on that. So again, today's video is going to be about me and dating. All right, about me and dating. I'm probably not going to do anything today, but just put a few talking points up here. There's not really too much we need to take notes on. Again, today, I'm just trying to transition into, again, from, what I was looking for to, hey, this is, me and where I'm at in life and dating. I don't really know where to start when we talk about me and dating. So I figured maybe we would just start at the beginning. And again, we all know that this is opposite sex sexual interaction. I'm gonna hold off on any prior opposite sex sexual interactions that I had until I actually had sex. So I think if we go back to the beginning, I think that it might be a useful place to start, and we can explain a little bit from there. So if we're talking the beginning, we're going to be talking about when I lost my virginity. Now, that story is a good story. It's probably entertaining. I know it entertains me. However, I don't think we should put the long version out today. I'll save that story for another day. We'll just kind of touch on, the basics to just draw an example from that. So, again, if we go back to the beginning, we're talking losing virginity. So when did this happen for me? So we're talking high school. So to skip a lot of detail, chick was a varsity cheerleader. So I was a freshman, she was a freshman, but she had made like varsity cheerleading or something. Long story short, I crashed her. Now, it's not about that, it's about after that I want to really bring focus to. about the only thing that, I can bring focus to is the type of women that I've just been attracted to in my life. From jump, I've always been attracted to ultra feminine, for better words, that feminine energy, right? Pretty ultra masculine, if you will. So, I don't know if it's opposites type of thing or what, but that girly girl, feminine essence energy, it's just always gotten me, right? Cheerleaders, you can't really, in high school, it doesn't probably get much better than that, right? Just as a side note to the type of, women that I've been, ultimately attracted to. So again, it's about what happened after we had sex that I want to bring focus to. So, okay, so first time I had sex. What's the thing to really take from that? What I was expecting, my expectations. It was like, okay, I wanted to have sex with her. That's just kind of the way I was going about things. Of course, most times, we're not going to get into this too deep, but, most times sex is just unspoken. Yeah, sometimes a person can be like, hey, wanna fuck? It's just, we'll just say women don't really respond to that for the most part. Some women do sometimes. Everything in life is situational, we'll say. But again, for the most part, women don't respond well to directness on sex. So playing the indirect game, long story short, I end up having sex with her. And again, for me, that's what it was. It was sex. You have to take into account her perspective, so the woman's perspective, and what her expectations was from how she was indirectly going about things with me and having sex. It was a relationship, okay? I like to state this because these are, 14-year-old kids. In that mind state, I'm just natural. She's just natural. So the reason why I feel that bringing this example in is good is because I'm wanting to bring the natural essence of men and women into play at its most untainted level, right? As a kid, as you're exploring, finding yourself, what you want, what your desires are. So again, this is, I believe, a good example to bring up how men and women from a young age actually view dating and what their agendas are, what their needs are, what each are looking for. I think that story will bring context to the rest of the dating philosophy that men and women go through when they date each other. Also, I think it's important because I think that we should all kind of reflect back to that age when we were younger, when we were first exploring dating, we were first exploring opposite sex, sexual interaction, for better words. Because hell, we were kids in second grade and third and fourth, or whatever, kids, in 2023, I don't, they're probably fucking in first grade, but it's a different story. Long story short is, this is where, when we go back to our early years of opposite sex sexual interaction, that is really what set us up for the rest of our lives, to where we're at now. The experiences that we had or didn't have, or the losses we had, or the pain. If we go back to the beginning, we may be able to look why we're doing what we're doing now. Some people, there's probably a lot of things that people need to heal from their previous experiences along the way to where they are now. But I can tell you a good place to start is probably your first opposite sex sexual interaction. And there's things prior to that we would probably need to explore. We're not going to for this series right now. But there's plenty of relevance in your, pre-childhood that makes you who you are today, that we may need to look into to make sure that we're as healthy as we can be. So again, though, to stay on focus, to about the first time I had sex, what we're really wanting to take from it is what he wants versus what she wants. Again, what he wants versus what she wants. This is major. There is a lot of friction and resistance and differing of agendas ultimately from the male and the female. Why is that? These are some of the things that we're going to explore over the course of the dating philosophy. And so if we just go ahead and say primarily in the dating game, what men are looking for and what women are looking for. And of course, this is a very general blanketed statement, but just go with me on this. Men want sex, women want a relationship. Right? So what he wants is sex, what she wants is a relationship. I'll just say that the way things are in 2023, these are highly opposed to each other, okay? We'll talk about, get down to the core of why this right here runs our life crazy. This right here, it's the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. Literally, the most bizarre thing that I've ever seen. Now, there's a lot of bizarreness that goes on in the world. The world is very ill in 2023. I see a lot of, odd behavior from all areas of life. But opposite sex, sexual interaction, that is the most oddest behavior that I see. And why do I say it's bizarre? Bizarre in the sense of it just doesn't make sense. Like, most things in life make sense. When you have sex on the table, you realize shit just doesn't make sense anymore. But again, we'll explore that, concepts later. Again, think it's important to just go ahead and start at the beginning of what he wants and what she wants. And again, going back to, when I first had sex, what my primary focus was and what her primary focus was at its purest, untainted, natural, feminine and masculine state. And I think that example is very universal. So we'll build on that. I'm a man, right? You heard me mention what he wants is sex. Women, this whole thing, women are just like, why does guys want sex? It really is a foreign concept to the woman. It's really hard for her to connect with the way she perceives and views and experiences the world. It's fine. That's some of the reasons why I'm doing the philosophy, so we can, try to get some more of an understanding. So when I say sex, again, I don't want you to think I'm just some shallow man just looking to fuck, There's way more depth, way more substance to me. This is just one thing that's done. What else is done? Relationship, right? So we can talk a little bit about relationships. So I've had relationships. I've had many relationships. I've had, very non-traditional interactions that I would still consider relationships. But ultimately, again, this thing that you'll see women kind of strive for or long for or desire is in the opposite sex sexual interaction is a relationship. I'm not foreign to it. So let's go into a little bit about relationship. I've been in love, okay? Not like just somebody, some guy, some sex horn crazy guy who, only thing on his mind is sex and that's it, It's not that, and it's not like that for, I don't think, most guys, honestly. I honestly think that the reason why most men and women just can't make it work is they just don't understand each other. So again, that's one of the useful things that we're going to be looking at from a male's perspective and a female's perspective to try to find, better understanding of each other. See if we can't try to find some common middle ground. I can very much relate to women with relationships, okay? You might be saying, so what's your big deal with the traditional route of going about relationships? I've got a very big problem with it. And it's funny because ultimately I was really, really young when I started to grasp this. At that age was, what's the point? What's the point of getting into these relationships? I already could see that, why are we acting like we're getting in these relationships and we just know they're not going to work out? But hey, I was still stubborn at that age, still thinking that at that age, I still saw myself, getting married with, one woman and having kids and, living happily ever after, right? I think probably by that age, I was probably like, maybe by 25, I meet her. And when you're a young male, 21 to 25, you're thinking, I got to get it in before I just get that ball and chain. That's what a lot of men are thinking, especially at younger ages, right? They just haven't had all the experiences that they would like before they get cuffed up. Again, I would see at, 25, I'd meet somebody and hopefully by 30 we'd be married. And, that's what I was seeing, back then. Very naively too, in retrospect, in hindsight. So ultimately, I have been in love. I have had relationships. I have tried the traditional route. So it's not foreign to me. We'll talk more in the philosophy in later videos of where this concept of two humans, man and woman, coming together in a monogamous relationship and living happily ever after. We'll talk more about where that concept came from and why people desire it, people actually go after it, and try to attain, these type of things for themselves in their lives. We'll keep things a little bit more simple, today. Ultimately, I'm just wanting to state as a man, which wants sex, right, that it's not a foreign concept to me to want a relationship, okay? It's not a foreign concept for me to be in one. It's not a foreign concept for me to be in love. Now, being in love, that's a different concept that we'll have to explore later also. I'm not going to get too deep into that on, if somebody really in love or are they in lust or is that puppy love or they just confused or, we're not going to get into what love is. And we'll actually describe that word. This is one of those words, love is one of those words for me like dating. It's just not descriptive enough. So again, we'll talk more about that later in later videos. However, I do want to mention this part right here because ultimately I think that's what will transition into the next thing that I want to say about where I'm at right now. So ultimately, this is me being in love is what really sprouted me on this growth journey. Right? So I was young, around that 21-ish, age or whatever. The first time that I would consider I was in like real love, which I don't really consider real love, but my point is, serious relationship and all those expectations and, seeing, where you could see yourself being with somebody for the rest of your life, one of these type of scenarios. So, I don't know, it was over a year or something like that. And I remember I got rid of her. That's been a common theme too, is, a woman just not meeting my standards and me not being happy. So I just walk away from the situation. It's just so frequent that, guys get, women ain't happy and, they kind of leave the man, but that's just not my experience. And again, we'll talk more into, why I wasn't happy. Ultimately, though, I was fucked up after the relationship, right? You're thinking, that's what I really wanted. Oh, I really, you're really attracted. We won't talk about all the emotions that we wrap into these relationships. And when it's over, the hurt or the pain that comes. And then the bigger question is how do I heal myself from that hurt and that pain? And this is where the gold comes, because that's why I would say ultimately why I'm at where I'm at today is because I had to overcome heartbreak. Right? So I had to overcome heartbreak. And I think during this process of overcoming heartbreak, a person learns a lot. They learn a lot about themselves. They learn a lot about others. They learn a lot about, how people interact with each other. So again, this is about me and dating. Really think we should go back to, first time I had sex, just to kind of show, at innocence, what men and women want. And then, again, to show you, it's not that I don't want a relationship. It's not that I haven't had relationships. And again, not that I haven't been in love. It's just that ultimately, I've learned a lot about men and women interacting from growing from heartbreak. So I can relate to women wanting a relationship and desiring a relationship. As I honestly think that most men can actually relate to wanting a relationship. Now, we'll go into later in the philosophy of, why that is. Why do humans desire relationships? Why do men desire them? Why do women desire them? What are the differences there? That'll be some of the future talks, but I just want to make it clear about me. I'm not foreign to a relationship, even though, again, I'm a man, my primary mode is sex. Through my experience, even when I was open to like the traditional type of relationship, it was just that women were not at the growth level or the behavior was not there for me to be satisfied in a traditional type of relationship. So, I'm not about to settle in a relationship with a person I'm not happy with. And I hope that you won't either. That's one of the reasons why I'm doing the philosophy, right? Is men and women are just not happy. How do we become happy with each other? As I've been able to articulate it more over the years, it's kind of like, it's not just, hey, this is what I'm on, this is why I'm on it. Doesn't matter if a woman's on a completely different agenda than you, it's just not gonna work. So again, as far as type goes, I don't want to say like player type, motherfuckers just be like pimp, but you can't even call a dude a pimp these days that gets girls, because he actually might be a pimp, like we're living in pseudo pimp era. But anyhow, I was just on the girls, right? So, but not on some relationship type things, right? For sex and, fun and, ultimately even like fuck buddies. So when you're real about not wanting a relationship, right? I always say, there's that saying, can't live with them, can't live without them. So, honestly, men and women, we have to interact, right? And we just, on an unconscious level, no matter what, if we're not looking for sex, if we're a woman, or we are looking for sex, if we're a woman or a guy, or we're looking for a relationship, whether, it's a woman and a guy, or not looking for a relationship, we know we still have to interact with each other, right? There's some level of opposite sex sexual interaction that we just don't feel fulfilled as humans if we don't have it in our life. Now, what we really want is the optimal opposite sex sexual interaction. And again, that's what I think my philosophy leads us to. So if we were to sum up the type that I am, well, it's kind of hard. Definitely unique. But there'll be some commonality to other men that women have encountered, for sure. But I want to say, ultimately, a real dude, okay? One of those real dudes that keep it real with you. Not one of those fake dudes that fake with you. So there's a lot of those guys out there, those fake guys, that'll tell a woman what she wants to hear just so he can get what he wants, which is sex. Maybe he sticks around for a while, maybe he doesn't, maybe he's one and done. But the point is those fakers, that's not me. I've always been real. So if we look at this over time, since the first time I had sex, you're gonna kind of get a type of guy, right? So again, it's not gonna be the type of guy that is all about this relationship and telling, a woman what she wants to hear, if she wants a relationship. It's more like going against that, saying, hey, I'm not looking for, a traditional type, relationship. So ultimately, it's just led to just sexual interactions. Maybe they extend to, we'll call this thing called a fuck buddy, which I honestly think is a natural transition, before, you try to act like you're in this relationship, because it's like, okay, well, we're not in a relationship. We interact with each other often and, we interact, but we have sex too, right? We call those fuck buddies. But ultimately, like I said, I'm just trying to say I keep it real. I don't like lying. I'm a very honest person. So with all that being said, it's led me to a lot of conclusions for the agenda that I've had, me personally, in having a lot of similarities of other men, me being male, and the agendas of women and the not matching up of agendas. So with that, I've learned a lot. I've tried to, bottom line, this is the code that I've cracked, okay? But it's taken me, to get over heartbreak and love, in certain relationships and keep going, in pursuit of my happiness, and heal and still chase my, pursuit of my happiness with the opposite sex sexual interaction. And just through the whole dating process, right, of meeting women and, interacting with, multitude of women, my life, and just learning. So through this journey of, again, opposite sex sexual interaction since the first time, I've had sex, and having to overcome love and, my experience in the dating scene, and relationships and what works, what doesn't work, seeing, men's agenda, women's agenda, and just putting that whole thing together. That's ultimately what the philosophy is, okay? And the dating philosophy is ultimately meant to bridge the gap between men and women in dating. Now, again, through the future videos and the philosophy being unfolded and revealed, you'll see why there's even a gap between men and women in the first place. So really, I want to, just throw that last note on there. Again, the dating philosophy is meant to bridge the gap between men and women. So moving forward, actually after this next video, like I said, we'll just go ahead and pick apart everything that basically we've mentioned or introduced kind of up to this point, so we can make the philosophy a lot more whole. This next one, however, I think is going to be really important. I'm going to come up with common objections to myself and the dating philosophy. So I think if we kind of start off with that and look at that from the jump, like why it can't work, if you will, I think that will be beneficial to actually showing how it does work, going forward. So at least that's the format that I'm shooting for. Again, this is a freestyle. That's all I got for you guys today. I appreciate you guys for joining. Stay tuned again for the next video for common objections.